Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Rebecca Weber. You're watching Better for America, sponsored by AMAC, and we're live here at CPAC. Joining me now is our great friend, a hero, a true hero, former police officer, former acting director of ICE, current Fox News contributor, and the founder of Border 911, Tom Homan. Thank you for being here with me.
Thanks for having me.
You know, Tom, there's nothing more important to our over 2 million AMAC members than the crisis that we see at the border. It is exponentially getting worse and worse by the day, by the minute. Tell us where we're at. Give us some real numbers, because we hear a lot of these numbers, and I hear it's a lot worse than what the mainstream media is reporting.
Well, look, since Joe Biden's been in the White House, we've had over 8 million encounters on the southern border, a record. All right, they've released nearly 4 million into the country. Add to that the 1.9 million known gotaways. Look, we went for the most secure border under Trump. That's not just my opinion, it's fact. If you look at the numbers under Trump, illegal immigration at a 45-year low, illegal immigration down 83 to 90%, depending on what time frame you look at. We went from that to historic illegal immigration, numbers we've never seen before. So by the time Biden first term, you're going to have 10 to 12 million people encounters on the southern border. You're going to have about 5 million released in the United States. And that's not counting the people he's bringing in through the port of entries, through what they call legal pathways, which isn't. But that's just a way for them to play the shell game. If they bring them through a port of entry, they can claim a legal entry. We want to claim that as an illegal border entry. It's just a shell game. It's a historic, and just not illegal immigration, historic number of people are off the terrorist watch list arrested. Historic number of women and children being sex trafficked. An historic amount of fentanyl coming across the border that killed 112,000 Americans. I mean, he's breaking records every day, but none of them are good.
Many of our members have said they can't imagine why a president would allow such a thing to happen when he has made an oath to protect and defend the United States citizen. Why is the administration prioritizing illegals over Americans? And there's got to be an answer why. There's got to be a reason, a method to their madness, because it is not humanitarian to let people come in, children be trafficked, illegal drugs come over, and terrorists.
Well, look, they've obviously sold the safety and security of this country out. They sold us out for future political power. They obviously see a future political benefit from this, right? Now, a lot of folks says, well, they're bringing in future Democratic voters. Probably, but they don't even have to get to that point, right? Because when Biden signed 90 executive orders abolishing everything we did, he also returned the Trump census rule, which means millions of people being released in sanctuary cities will be counted in the next census, which means what? That means more seats in the House for the Dems. This is about future political power, and they sold this country out for. But look, we're going to hold them accountable. The Trump administration is going to come back, and we're going to go back to rule of law. We're going to secure the border. We also have I'm actually a senior fellow with a group called Immigration Reform Law Institute. These are a group of probably the finest immigration attorneys in the country who've been suing. They've been suing the Biden administration to help Texas, help Florida, and other states sue the administration. They've been very successful. Immigration Reform Law Institute, your listeners need to look them up, because they're fighting the case in the courts. I'm going to fight the case on the border.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned it could be because he wants these folks coming over so that he can grow his Democratic base, party, that is, and get more people to vote for him. How concerned should people be that we may have illegals voting in our federal election? And I believe this is something that we ought to be truly concerned about. This isn't just hype or rhetoric.
I think, how many illegals vote in elections? I don't know, but you'd be a fool to think none of them. And look, some of the states don't require voter ID, right? I got to show a driver's license to pick up tickets at a Washington Capitals game.
Yeah.
But I don't have to show an ID to vote. And look, like New York State, a lot of the states now give illegal aliens driver's licenses. Sometimes that's all you need to register to vote. One thing that concerns me about the upcoming election, I think Donald Trump's going to run away with it if every vote is counted, every legal vote is counted, and we stop the voter fraud. But I'm afraid that, have we done enough? Are we pushing, write-in ballots? Are we pushing, ballot harvesting where it's legal? Are we doing it? Are we going to try to beat their own game? Or are we going to play the same game we played last time? So we got to step up. People need to come out of the woodwork to vote for President Trump. We need to overwhelm them so much, so no matter how much fraud they commit, they can't possibly beat the numbers. So we got to come out in force.
Yeah, and illegal immigration is the problem runs so deep. It impacts our schools, right? We see that children are being forced to stay home so that they can make way for illegals.
Yeah.
It impacts our hospitals. It impacts, you name it, our economy in a negative way, although we do hear others saying, oh, no, it's great for our
No,
economy.
that's a bunch of crap. The bottom line is illegal immigration drives wages down. It puts American workers out of work. And how do I know that? Let me give you an example. I put a roof on my house. Been 2 years now. I had to call 5 different companies before I got a company that guaranteed me a legal workforce. And one of the people that showed up was just a father and son. They wanted to see if they could do the job themselves, hoping to just do a repair, but it was too far gone. They couldn't. But the father told me a story. He owned a roofing company. He had over 20 United States citizen employees. But the company got shut down. He laid off 20 U.S. citizen employees because he couldn't compete where the companies are hiring illegal aliens and putting them on the roof at $5 an hour, where he's paying U.S. citizens $20 an hour. He couldn't win a bid, so he went out of business, put 20 U.S. citizens on an unemployment line. When I was ICE director, we shut down a meat packing plant in Illinois, and we arrested a couple hundred illegal aliens. Well, that plant opened that back up about a month later, with the black community employees. So another example of the black community being put in the backseat. I've gotten phone calls from 3 separate black pastors from Chicago who are upset at what's going on the board because they're being left behind, not with just jobs, but social services are being taken over by illegal aliens. The hospitals are being taken over. Look, trauma centers are shutting down, schools are overcrowded, and our social service system are stretched beyond. And here's the issue. This administration, rather than putting an illegal alien in an ICE detention bed, which the law clearly says, if you're an arriving alien without proper documentation, you shall be detained. Shall means you do it. But this administration is not doing it. Why aren't they doing it? Because they know, like I know, 9 out of 10 of these people who claim asylum will get an order removal because they simply don't qualify for asylum. But if they're not in detention, they're not leaving. And plus, even if ICE was to find them, the secretary has told ICE being in the country illegally on his own is not enough for ICE to effect an arrest. So they're here to stay. They're going to hide out. They're going to have a few USC kids. They're going to wait for the next amnesty to roll around. They're waiting for the next giveaway because this country's showing over and over again, if you hide out long enough, we'll give you something. Well, I think a Trump administration, that ends. If you're in the country illegally, you better be looking over your shoulder.
There you go. And I am just thrilled that you have taken this amazing initiative. You formed Border 911. This is an incredible, really, goal that you have in play. Tell people listening a little bit about Border 911 and what you intend to accomplish.
Border 911, it's 501c3, C4 nonprofit. I brought what I think the best border enforcement team in the world. Many of us work for the Trump administration. I got Mark Morgan, CBP Commissioner under Trump. I got Rodney Scott, Chief Patrol Agent, Border Patrol under Trump. I got Jason Jones, a Newsmax border correspondent, retired as the captain of Texas DPS intelligence. He knows more about the criminal cartels, how they operate, than anybody I've ever met in my career. He's on. I got Sarah Carter, who I work with on Fox News. She's been an investigative journalist on board for 20 years. And finally, I got Derek Maltz. Derek Maltz retired as a Special Operations Director for DEA. He's running the country talking about fentanyl. So I think we got the best border experts in the world, and not because we took a college course, not because when this border exploded, all of a sudden everybody says, "Oh, we're border experts." We're border experts because we wore the uniform. We investigated cartels. We put people in prison, and we're a part of the Trump administration that created the most secure border in my lifetime. That's what makes us who we are. So we're going to spend the next 10 months going around this country explaining to people why border security matters. It's just not about illegal migration. It's about 112,000 dead fentanyl poisonings. It's about record number of migrants who've died crossing U.S. soil. It's about a record number of women and children in sex trafficking in the United States. It's about a record number of people on the terrorist watch list crossing the border. It's a national security failure of huge proportions. So we're going to spend the next 10 months going around the country to battleground states. We're going to talk to people why border security matters. So when you walk in that voting booth, you vote for border security.
Yeah, know who you're voting for. And this is a real issue. When we think about child sex trafficking, I honestly think that the average person who's living in suburban America doesn't realize that the problem is as real as it is, as severe as it is. What do you know? Do you have some numbers to share, or what can you share as it relates to, lay it out for us. How does this happen? How do people come over and move children for money?
Well, bottom
sell
line
and buy
is
children for money.
under the Biden administration, we'd had over 440,000 children across the border. And people want to attack the Trump administration over what they call family separation, zero tolerance.
Right.
2,500 separations because we were prosecuting a person, and I separated families every day. I was a cop. Families get separated thousands of times across this country. When a parent gets prosecuted and you're with a child, the child's not going to go to jail. You're going to separate. That's why, sadly, that's why CPS gets involved in all this other stuff. We were prosecuting the parents for entering the country illegally, which is a crime. And the reason that was done, maybe we start prosecuting, they'll stop coming. Maybe less women get raped. Maybe less children drown in the river. Maybe less fentanyl comes across because the Border Patrol's on the line and being vigilant because they're not worried about this, oversaturation of family groups. We did it to save lives. But under Biden administration, so they say our policy is inhumane. Under Biden administration, we've got 440,000 children, and that was last month's number. They lost track of 100,000 of them, right? And I said at the time, many of these children that they can't find are in the hands of traffickers. They'll be in forced labor. They'll be in pornographic movies. They're living with pedophiles. And sure enough, in the last 6 months, ICE has had at least half a dozen investigations. You got a 9-year-old cleaning up entrails in a meatpacking plant in Texas, being forced labor. And that is what happens when you open the border up. The criminal cartels are having a field day because if you're a child, this administration is going to put you in custody of HHS. They're going to deliver you at government expense to the same person who paid for your smuggling, which in most contexts is a felony to conspire to alien smuggling. Not only that, that's why the family numbers continue to rise. The family numbers continue to rise because they know they're not going to be detained. The way you stop that, you end catch and release, like the Trump administration did. And you hold people accountable. If you cross the border illegally, it's a crime. It's not okay. And we shouldn't be okay with that. So under the next administration, you better believe there's going to be human trafficking organizations going to be held accountable, and we're going to put a lot of people in prison. And we're going to secure the border and save lives because a secure border saves lives. Again, when President Trump had illegal immigration 90% down, when 90% less people are coming, I'm going to say it 1,000 times. How many women weren't being raped?
Right.
How many children weren't being put in the hands of criminal cartels coming across the border? So look, this is the most inhumane administration I've ever seen. Because when you open the border up, you promise you can enter the country legally. You'll be released within 24 hours. We'll fly you to a city of your choice at government taxpayer dime. We'll put you in a hotel room at $500 a night. We'll give you 3 squares a day, medical attention, give you work authorization, and on top of that, we'll give you a Visa card with $7,500 on it. Who the hell wouldn't come?
That's right.
The most vulnerable people in the world are going to put themselves in the hands of criminal cartels that come to the greatest nation on earth because you open the door.
Yeah. I mean, our country, in my view, it is being invaded. We need to act. We need to speak up, and you're doing exactly that. I'm so proud of the work that you're doing. Border 911. I just encourage people to tune in and keep up
go
the
to
great fight.
border911.com and look what we're doing. We got an event April 4th at Mar-a-Lago. We'd love to see you there. But let's not forget about the Immigration Reform Law Institute. These men and women, I work with them, the finest immigration attorneys in the country, and they're winning. They're taking this administration on, and they're winning. So, like I said, I'll be the border guy, but we need the court fight, too, and these people are great in the courtroom.
Yeah. Well, we sure need you back, and that's what we're praying for. Tom Homan, thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you for all you do for this great country.
We'll be back.
Yes, thank you.
Right.
And stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back with a lot more coming right up.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.